All right, Nirvana has a new song, or do they? Bass Nectar has a sexual abuse lawsuit filed against them. Industry execs forfeit their bonuses. Kodak Black ambushed. Sony Music acquires yet another company. Grammy-winning artist wants YouTube to disclose information about repeat copyright infringers. And now you can make money on Clubhouse. We have a lot to talk about, but first, let's turn to my co-host, Eli Window. Eli, lots of interesting
Peter.
topics today. How are you?
Lots of interesting topics. I'm doing well. I'm finally feeling energized again after my shot. I was dragging tail a little bit, but I'm bounced back now. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to my shot. I have it lined up for Friday. And for anybody in New York,
Congratulations.
yeah, and the second one will be April 30th. So if anybody's in New York, check out the TurboVax Twitter site, and they also link to other ones. I was trying to go to sleep early one night. It was Sunday night. I was trying to go to sleep early, and I got an alert from TurboVax at like 12:30 in the morning, and it said CVS is opening up appointments. And I logged in, and then it was like, oh, they asked for my insurance, even though it's free. I had to go downstairs. I was like, I want to go to sleep early, but it was like, it took me 45 minutes to make the appointment, and I got it. So if you're in New York, make sure to check out TurboVax, the Twitter site, and there's a few others. So that really helps when they release appointments. But yeah, I mean, we have a lot to go on today. So some really interesting information. I know we've already been talking about Clubhouse, and you can make money on it now, but we're going to bring that to the table. And again, anybody, we're going to start inviting you up, if we, like, some of our regulars. And also, if you see, if we don't invite you up, that means we probably just didn't see you because we're reading something. So just raise your hand. And if there's a topic that you wanted to bring to the table, go right ahead. So let's get this going. And Eli, a little fun start is always this day in history. So take it away.
Let's go ahead and get started. Today we are going to remember this day in 1998. Wendy O. Williams, former singer of the Plasmatics, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Williams was known for her wild stage theatrics, which included blowing up equipment, near nudity, and chainsawing guitars. Heck of a legacy. Also on this day, April 6, 1998, American country singer Tammy Wynette died aged 55. We remember her today. She scored 12 hit singles, including Stand By Your Man, and sold over 30 million records worldwide. Married 5 times and once filed for bankruptcy. In memory. Celebrating birthdays today on April 6, 1965, Frank Black, guitarist and singer with the American alternative rock band Pixies, was born. Today in 1978, American singer, pianist, and record producer Robert Glasper, happy birthday. His 2012 album, Black Radio, won the Grammy Award for Best R&B Album at the 55th Grammy Awards. On this day in history, April 6, 1965, the Beach Boys went into the United Western Recorders recording studio complex in Hollywood to start work on a new Brian Wilson and Mike Love song, California Girls. They recorded 44 takes of the backing track until Brian Wilson was satisfied with the results. Perfection for you. On this day in 1968, Pink Floyd announced founder Syd Barrett had officially left the group. Barrett was suffering from psychiatric disorders compounded by drug use. On this day in 1987, Roger Waters' lawyers issued a statement that Roger believed himself to be the creative driving force behind Pink Floyd, and therefore he would contest the use of the name Pink Floyd by anyone else and any former members of Pink Floyd. So today is a big day in history for Pink Floyd indeed. And that's it for this day in history. Over to you, Peter.
Right on. Yeah, Peter Jenner. I spoke to him, the Pink Floyd's first manager, and I was speaking to him years ago, and I asked him because Sid was just on the first album, and then basically just lost it, and then disappeared for years. And we kind of mentioned it to Peter. It's like, hey, how did that feel? It's like you went with Sid, because when Sid left the band, Peter went with Sid instead of saying with Pink Floyd. And he goes, something? There was a saying. He goes, always go with the singer. If the singer is going to lead the band, always go with the singer. And he's like, except for that time. So he's like, I mean, he went on to have great success and everything, but it was just one of those stories of like, you got to make the decision, and sometimes it's a 50-50 on that one. So, but he what an amazing person. Peter's an amazing person. Love, he's such an intelligent person, has some great stories to share. So, but yeah, and then it all went wrong with Roger Waters and all that, and the
That's a
fights.
great rule of thumb. I before E except after C, and
Right on. All right, so let's get into the news headlines. And Eli, feel free to start pinging some people up. And if there's anybody who wants to chime in or just ready to take the stage, feel free to raise a hand. All right, this comes from Consequence of Sound. And again, all these are in the show notes, and you can find them at musicindustrycity.com. If you go there, you click on, there's a little panel there, graphic that says Clubhouse Clubhouse Information Center, and that has all our show notes, has info like if you want to submit an article, like Jamie did yesterday. Thank you, Jamie. We're going to be talking about that today with Clubhouse and payments, so thank you for that. And so you can submit an article, or if there's questions for any of the other shows that we do, you can submit a question there. And if you scroll all the way down, it has our show notes, which contains all the links that we have that we talk about in the news. So it's a cumulative list that occurs, builds up over the week, and then on Mondays we reset it. So and if there's a new article brought in during the discussion, we'll add that in after the show. But feel free, it's musicindustrycity.com. You can go there and click the icon, the graphic, or you can just go to musicindustrycity.com/clubhouse. All right, so this is from Consequence of Sound. AI software creates new Nirvana song called Drowned in the Sun. Songs were also created in the style of Amy Winehouse, The Doors, and Jimi Hendrix for the Lost Tapes of the 27 Club project. The artist starts off: the recently launched Lost Tapes of the 27 Club project uses AI software to create songs in the style of musicians who died at the age of 27. One of the featured tracks is called, quote, Drowned in the Sun, and it comes pretty close to replicating a Nirvana song written by Kurt Cobain himself. You can stream. This is really an interesting article. They have a lot. They have some YouTube clips in here, so you can listen to it. So again, it's in the show notes. With the opening guitar started out as restrained before as reaching crescendo. It's reminiscent of "Come As You Are." Chorus sounds something like Cobain might have written to, with the lyrics like "I don't care, I feel as one, drowned in the sun." As explained in Rolling Stone feature, Google's AI program Magenta was used to analyze the pioneering grunge band's music to create the instrumental track. An artificial neural network was then used to generate the lyrics, while the vocals were recorded by Eric Hogan, frontman of Lantern Nirvana tribute band. Magenta was fed up to 30 of each artist's songs as MIDI files. The program then translated the, quote, pitch and rhythm into a digital code that can be fed through a synthesizer to recreate a song. New compositions were made by, quote, examining each artist's note choices, rhythmic quirks, and preferences for harmony in the MIDI file. So they go on and talk about it's a Toronto organization and the board of directors, and they said, quote, Sean O'Connor is on the board, quote, we took 20 to 30 songs from each of our artists as MIDI files and broke them down just to the hook, solo, vocal melody, and rhythm guitar, and put those through one at a time. If you put whole songs through, the program starts to get really confused on what it's supposed to sound like. But if you just have a bunch of riffs, it'll put out about 5 minutes of new AI written riffs, 90% of which is really bad and unlistenable. So if you start listening through and just finding little moments that are interesting. So this goes on, and they talk about AI treatment for Amy Winehouse, Jim Morrison, and Jimi Hendrix, and there are samples in the article which you could find in the show notes. I get when they talk about an AI getting confused, I still feel like that sci-fi horror movie where you're feeding into like the robot or something, and it's like does not compute, and then like head explodes and it goes on a mass killing spree.
or like when you ask your iPhone a question and Siri just keeps saying, "Sorry, I don't understand."
Siri just stopped talking to me months ago, so we haven't spoken. I'm okay with that.
At least you're not fighting. But you know what, Peter, I'm cringing as you read the details of this article, because this has kind of been a hot topic of discussion in a lot of arenas worldwide. How does AI factor into the future of music composition? And I just personally feel like if you're going to take the humans out of music, you're taking the humanity out of it. I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts on this article?
No, I agree. There has been a lot of conversation about this. And then it also comes down to like who owns the publishing rights, who owns the songwriting, who owns, because they are actually taking bits of of the original songs to then create this other thing. It feels like it's something that's going to have to be ironed out at some point, because this isn't going to stop happening, unfortunately. And it's just a matter of like, who is the songwriter in this instance,
We had a really good discussion in another room. It was from a composition standpoint. It was more like film scoring, and talking about AI and like Ampere, and you can build out these scores. And one of the things that they said, and Sharon, this all like lines up with what you're saying. I mean, it's going to be an IP nightmare, but the thing is, like, they said something great. They're like, we have to, we had in the 80s, the drum machine's going to replace drummers. Well, did it at some point? Yes, it did. But did other people adapt? Did Phil Collins use drum machines? Yes, he's a drummer. But the thing is, it's like he said, how do we use it together? How do we incorporate it into real world? Because there's still going to be, until, a 50 or 100 years, when it can really play the violin as like the Mozart, intended it to sound. I mean, we're still far away from that, not that far, but it's also who owns it. So when an AI is, we talk about mashups, it's like an AI taking stems, you're taking stems and you're creating derivative works. I think, Shara, that's where you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And I just think it's something that, like, as things down the line keep progressing, it's just going to be different ways of people doing things. There's going to be like court cases that are going to, make a precedent, and then this is going to make a precedent. It's just, it's a long road ahead. But then it's like, also, it kind of makes me think of those memes where it's like you have a picture of somebody, not whoever you're talking about, and you're like, I'm going to tell my child this is whatever. So like the song will be like, I'm going to tell my child this was Nirvana. It's like literally an audio interpretation of that.
Right. And that, as I said, it's like 90% of it is not good. But here's the other thing is they're saying, it's like, to get this to happen, it still takes a lot of people to make this happen. So it's not necessarily replacing, it's replacing maybe a performer, but then there's still people involved. So is it something like, hey, if I want to be a musician, I better learn AI programming or curating or something? Like, is there going to be a new job title where it's like a musician is in charge of overseeing the AI unit?
I fully think that could be where it evolves. 100%.
I think somebody just raised their hand here. Let's bring them up to the stage. Hey, Art. Hey, is there something you want to jump in about this?
Yeah, I was going to say maybe it just becomes a tool for an actual artist, singer-songwriter, who can then put up his catalog into the program. And when he's having a brain fart or writing block, it can spit out that 10%. You said 90 is bad, so maybe that 10% hits him, and then the artist can just use it as another tool to write his own within his own genre.
Ooh, I have a lot of thoughts on this, and Art, you are touching upon something that I love. Can we table this for like the back half, like in like 10 minutes or so? Can you hang out? Because I want to just get through the other articles and then open this up. You good with that?
I'm good.
All right. Awesome. Okay. Fantastic. So, all right. The next article here, this is from Live for Live Music. It's also in some other media outlets. This is lawsuit filed against Bass Nectar, alleges sexual abuse of minors and human trafficking. Lauren Ashton, better known as Bass Nectar, is the target of a new civil suit filed on Monday in Philadelphia. The lawsuit alleges that its two plaintiffs were sexually abused as minors by Ashton. In addition to Bass Nectar himself, the civil suit aims to hold his associated companies and organizations accountable for, quote, engaging in a human trafficking venture by facilitating the alleged abuses. According to a press release from the Philadelphia law firm that filed a suit. Quote, the lawsuit seeks to hold Bass Nectar and those corporations that support him responsible for years of grooming, abuse, and trafficking. Bass Nectar is also accused of, quote, manufacturing and possessing child pornography. The lawsuit stems out from allegations that came to light in June of 2020 via the Instagram account Evidence Against Bass Nectar, which began to publicize allegations of various instances of Bass Nectar's improper behavior with minors. So this goes on. It says here that Ashton acknowledged the allegations and announced an indefinite hiatus from his music career on July 3rd. He has not spoken or posted publicly since then. As he noted at the time, quote, I am stepping back from my career and I'm stepping down from my position of power and privilege in this community because I want to take responsibility and accountability. I feel intense compassion for anyone I may have hurt. I truly hope you allow me a chance to work together toward healing. So the article continues there. So again, this is on the Live for Live Music, which you can find in our show notes at musicindustrycity.com/clubhouse, and scroll all the way down. You'll have the link there. This is some serious, allegations, and this is, a very serious issue. Anybody have some thoughts on this?
You can go to edm.com and tmz.com. They have a little more accurate stuff. Personally, Live for Live Music just rips off people, personally. But also, there was, if anybody ever saw the Instagram accounts about it, people of Bass Nectar, or victims of Bass Nectar, victims of Space Jesus, who was also one of the DJs involved, and they were actually on tour together, so who knows into what you say.
Yeah. Has anybody else follow or heard anything else about this? All right. So we'll table this. We're going to get back. If we can open up on the back end there. I'd also like to thank I see some other faces in the audience. How you doing, Mark, Maria, Greg, Corey? We're going on to, this is from Billboard. Michael Rapino, other Live Nation execs partially forfeit bonuses due to COVID-19. The article begins, the Live Nation CEO and two other senior executives will forfeit restricted stock and have a regular stock and cash payments reduced. Live Nation is Michael Rapino is forfeiting approximately $4 million in stock after missing revenue targets at the concert promotion company due to the pandemic, according to a report filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Rapino will forfeit over 47,000 performance-based restricted shares of the company, which has been trading at an average of 16% higher than the company's pre-pandemic period when the stock first crossed the $76 per share marker. The forfeited stock was issued on 2020 in lieu of cash payments for bonuses earned in 2019 due to, quote, cash savings initiative in connection with the global COVID-19 pandemic, according to their 2020 annual report. So a few others, Joe Burchell and Kathy Willard are also, and in April, Rapino announced that he was reducing his salary to $0 as part of the cost savings initiative at the company brought on by the pandemic. In 2019, the company's compensation committee agreed to pay Rapino a $6 million cash bonus if the company achieved an adjusted operating income of $875 million and between $6 to $12 million if he hit between 100 and 110% of the AOI target. Rapino ended up hitting 109%. And received a cash award of $11.4 million, which he deferred until the end of 2020. So it goes on, more breakdowns there. So, it's nice to see that, some executives are, looking out for the company by taking a hit on some things. But, there's always the, taking stock options, things like that. I mean, it's good to see this. I mean, they have plenty of money. So, it doesn't hurt and it helps. And hopefully that saved a few jobs and helps them to keep going. Any thoughts on this?
I wish I had these problems.
Yeah, big money problems. So, all right. Clubhouse. All right, so here's two things. We're going to go from the Clubhouse blog and also a little tech crunch. So just from the Clubhouse blog, it was released on April 5th. So today, we are thrilled to be rolling out Payments, our first monetization feature for creators on Clubhouse. All users will be able to send payments today, and we'll be rolling out the ability to receive payments in waves, starting with a small test group today. Our hope is to collect feedback, fine-tune the feature, and roll it out to everyone soon. So how it works is to send a payment in Clubhouse, just to tap on the profile of the creator who has the feature enabled and tap Send Money. All right, everybody. Go tap my profile. No, I'm kidding. I'm not one of the people that have that. Was included in that. So, but then you can enter the amount you would like to send them, and then 100% of the payment will go to the creator. So they're saying the person sending the money will also be charged a small processing fee, which will go directly to the payment processing partner Stripe. Clubhouse will take nothing. So if we go deeper into this a little bit, I mean, it's not a real deep press release for anything that is rolled out. You might have heard, people were having rooms and a lot of speculation going on, of course, and then, some insiders giving some information which, could have turned into telephone. So we're not quite sure of all this. We'll just have to see as it rolled out. But in TechCrunch, their article is Clubhouse launches payments so creators can make money. In this, they said the first of many features that allow creators to get paid directly on Clubhouse. So this is a first step. Clubhouse declined to comment to TechHouse, but Paul Davidson, the founder of Clubhouse, mentioned in the company's latest own town hall that the startup wants to focus on direct monetization on creators instead of advertisements. All right, so they go through this again, and then they talk about the 100% will go to the creator. And, Stripe CEO Patrick Collison tweeted shortly after the blog post went up that, quote, "It's cool to see a new social platform focus first on participant income rather than internalized monetization and advertising." So this was all part of, and due to the start of the Series B, that they were raised another $100 million in January, and that was also go to the Creator Grant Program. The program would be used to, quote, "support emerging Clubhouse creators." It is unclear how they define emerging, but cultivating influencers and rewarding with money is one way the startup is promoting high-quality content on its platform. So there's a lot of synergies there, and it goes on deeper. And, these Clubhouse payments will feature a test by a small test group, but it is unclear who is in this group. Eventually, the payments feature will be rolled out to other users in waves. All right, and that's it for Clubhouse. Anybody have thoughts on this one?
I wonder how they chose the people that they allowed into the beta of this. And I wonder how long it'll take to roll out. Those are the two things that in any room I went into haven't been answered.
Yeah, and again, TechCrunch is usually, on top of these kind of discussions. So they're on the Jamie, what is it? The preferred press list? When a publicist, is it like, who's the preferred list? Is that it?
Yeah, I suppose.
So, I think, maybe what we might actually be able to do as a test, in a sense, is to go into some of those big rooms where they have the thousands of people and see if some of those, rooms or those clubs, and just click on maybe the top row of the whoever's moderating those rooms, especially first position, because most of those are the people, if they have the club, if it's their club, they are in the first position there. So if we tap on them to see if that option comes up to send them money. So I imagine, of course, it's going to be tested with people that are somehow have, like with most things, is that have some leverage, some fan base, some recurring users. So you can build a case, a case study about it to see how it works.
Yeah, I was in a room yesterday. Everyone on stage had it.
And what do you remember what the club was, or and who were some of those people?
I don't remember what club it was. It was just everybody was talking about how to use it. And then I was like, maybe I should go update my app, and I don't know. So yeah, it's interesting, and let's see how it works. I mean, everyone on stage was sending each other $1 just to see if it worked.
Yeah, it's
the old PayPal test.
I mean, it's like, when it's interesting because they're giving 100% to creators, and I like that. But we also have to see how much it's going to charge. And I think you were in the room when we talked about it. It's like the Ticketmaster pricing model is the fact of like how much is it going to charge the sender, and that's to cover. So what they're doing is they don't want to take from the creators that cut, but they still are going to take, because I think they said it was after the fees. So it's getting double dipped there, in the sense that the creator gets 100%, but is that after the processing fees? That's the question.
You're going to pay more. So if you want to send somebody $5, I think it costs you $5.35 or something like that.
What I saw online from Clubhouse was an example of $20 given to a creator, and the fee was 91 cents on the example they posted.
So you're paying $20.91.
That was the example on the Clubhouse.
Oh yeah,
I think it was a rules page or something.
Yeah, it says it's on the introduce. So it's actually on the article. So send send Ashley $20, and there'll be a 91-cent fee. So I guess it's a 40. They're looking at 0.4. Okay, so but are the Clubhouse? So when that gets to Ashley, Ashley's getting 100%. But is Ashley getting 100% of net, or is she getting the $20?
$20. She's getting the $20.
Okay,
that's what I wrote down.
Okay, so there's nothing taken out on the back end. Okay, great. So that's really interesting. And is it based on? Is it going to be that that percentage for each one is going to be rolling? Say, if you send somebody $100, is it in a different percentage tier? As opposed to, because somebody mentioned that the smaller like $1 or $5 tips might be a higher percentage service fee as opposed to sending, say, $50 or $100.
No one knows. They haven't published a lot. I'm more interested in the question of how this affects Clubhouse's dynamic, and are we really putting in a hierarchy in Clubhouse? What I thought was sort of a democratic platform. Now we have these creators, and no one knows what that creator is versus the rest of us. I'm not expecting to get any money out of this, but what is a creator, and how come is Clubhouse putting in some rules that we don't know about that says only these people can get them, because they've used the word creator 15 times in the press release and the tweets. And Clubhouse terms of service says there's only 3 kinds of people: moderators, speakers, and listeners. So I don't know if I'm ever going to be a creator by their definition.
But I think we can
we're trying to dissect this. Yeah.
But is it can tip anybody? Can we tip anybody who's a speaker? It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a moderator. It could be. So it says. Today we throw for all users will be able to send payments, but yeah, it's only going to the small test today. So yeah, is it going to be something that we can just tip each other? Can I just throw you $5 for being up here, Greg?
They didn't say users. They didn't say members. They said creators. They use that term, and I don't even like that term for Clubhouse, because on YouTube I'm a creator. I have 200 videos. I created them. This is a conversation amongst a bunch of participants. Am I creating part of this conversation just because I said 2 words? It's my typical negative attitude.
It's a really interesting.
I like Clubhouse. I'm sure it's going to be great, but are they moving into this duality of 2 different sets of people?
Right on.
I'm not allowed to get money, but you are. I don't know.
Well, we'll see how. Yeah, we'll see how it rolls out. Yeah, thanks for that, Greg. And I'm going to move on to the next article just now, and it has to do with creators. And of course, we can bring all this back. And if there's something else anybody wants to bring to the table from the audience, raise your hand. Anybody up here on the stage, you're more welcome to raise your hand and join the conversation. So this one is from Digital Music News, and once again, the article, you can find the links in the show notes, which is at musicindustrycity.com. you can click on the Clubhouse Center Information Center button, or just go to musicindustrycity.com/clubhouse and scroll all the way down. If there's an article you want to submit to the news, there's a form there. And if there's a question for any of those shows, you can also just submit that there as well at any time. So thank you, Jamie, for submitting this article about Clubhouse yesterday. So thank you for that. And we're going to talk more about that in just a minute. So moving on to digital music news, Grammy-winning artist litigates against YouTube to disclose information about repeat copyright infringers. Last July, Grammy-winning jazz professional Maria Schneider named YouTube in a class action lawsuit for allegedly discriminating against certain creators with its Content ID program. Now, Schneider has formally called on the Google-owned platform to disclose a list of the takedown notices it's received, as well as the identities of repeat infringers. All right, so to recap, Maria Schneider, along with co-plaintiff Pirate Monitor, a Virgin Islands-based entity that owns the copyrights to several Hungarian comedy films, alleged in the original complaint that YouTube, quote, protects only the most powerful copyright owners, such as major studios and record labels, from copyright infringement. The plaintiffs attributed this alleged preferential treatment to, quote, litigation by major music studios and other significant rights holders. Additionally, they stated that if a rights holder does not have the economic clout to qualify for Content ID, YouTube refuses to add their works to the Content ID catalog for pre-production protection, even if those works have previously been infringed on YouTube's hundreds or even thousands of times. So this article goes on. YouTube fired back against these and other allegations in late December, claiming that it had found a, quote, smoking gun against Pirate Monitor in the form of an alleged, quote, elaborate scheme designed to prove itself sufficiently trustworthy to use YouTube's advanced copyright management tool. All right, so the defendant proceeded to indicate that Pirate Monitor had applied to access Content ID, but was denied partially, quote, because it had not established a track record of sending valid DMC takedown requests. Pirate Monitor then allegedly sent YouTube a substantial number of takedown requests on their own content, and the video sharing platform purportedly had, quote, no idea that the party uploading the videos was the same as the party insisting that they be removed. This goes on, and, at the time of this piece, right, YouTube hasn't commented publicly on the request for additional information. And last month, ahead of the EU's copyright directive rollout, the platform officially debuted Checks step in the upload process to automatically analyze videos for copyright violations and possible ad monetization issues. All right, so has anybody come across anything like with this, with ID, or as a creator, as a video creator, that you might have had some strikes, takedowns, copyright claims? And I did notice that new platform, when we upload videos, it actually does this checking now, so it pre-scans for potential copyright violations. Any thoughts on this before we move on?
I've got a question if anybody in the room can answer from it. I think you mentioned there was an economic threshold that she couldn't reach by putting her works into their Content ID system. Does anyone know what that economic framework looks like with YouTube Content ID?
No, but I'm sure that you can pop into Music Exec's Q&A and ask that question and get some great information.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
I hope that was helpful for you there, Corey.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering because there are there's other third-party companies like Audible Magic that have done the Content ID before Google took it in-house, and so I'm wondering from an artist standpoint, what if they are blocked? It sounds like from that article, it's are they, is the barrier to entry high for let's say non-major artists? Is kind of where my question and thoughts were.
This is Jamie. If I could jump in on one thing on this, you could even just use the baseline of the fact that for the U.S. Patent Office, for doing a copyright on something, is somewhere between $500 and $1,000 per item you wish to copyright. And a song you could end up putting multiple copyrights onto a song. So for an independent small artist, it could be very hard for somebody to do that, even by just doing the U.S. Patent Office way.
I'm a YouTuber, and I think really YouTube is, you know, a little disingenuous. They really gear their whole system towards protecting major record labels, but they say in a lot of their media, oh, we respect the copyrights of all creators. They pretend that photographers don't even exist, and when somebody says copyright on YouTube, they assume you mean commercial music. You know, there's so many areas of copyright that are completely ignored on YouTube that people don't even really understand anymore. Oh, you can't just take this picture from this photographer and stick it in your video. I don't think there's any mechanism to do that to protect filmmakers, photographers, visual artists, other than manually going in there and you know, you can make a manual copyright strike, and you're basically saying, hey, this is my work, this guy stole it from me. But the major record labels are really, you know, I'm speaking from the point of view of a creator who has ability to use fair use, and the majors say there's no such thing as fair use. You can't even use, you know, 2 seconds of this song to explain it in an academic format. So both sides of the issues, as a user and a creator and an infringer and a creative myself, I really think YouTube is not doing a great job in protecting rights of, well, you know what I'm saying, creators, if they're smaller creators. But I'm surprised it's Maria Schneider. She's a big band jazz person.
Well, and that's the thing is that, you know, unless you're tied in with like this major label and their distribution and everything, being able to have auto, like, you know, how many times I've gotten strikes or a claim that a piece of music that I wrote and Warner saying it was ours. And I'm like, well, no, Warner doesn't, unless I got signed to Warner and I don't know about it, which, hey, that would be a cool thing. This is not Warner's piece. But also, here's the other thing. YouTube also makes it more difficult to say. They're like, all right, if you're going to claim this or you're going to file a takedown, it's like, you need to be careful about what you know, are you 1000% sure? It's like they kind of make it scary for people to file a complaint. And that is one of the other, you know, things that creators have had a challenge with YouTube. Any other final thoughts on this one before I want to talk about something in from TuneCore put this out in March, and I guess it's something just kind of keep it's open for thought. It's the article on their blog was 12 music industry scams, everything you need to know. And I just thought it was an interesting highlight. And this, again, is in the show notes. So, you know, this is you know, talk about negotiating complicated, ever-changing industry is difficult for everyone, but you know, there's a lot to think. 12 insidious ways music business grifters are coming for your money and sometimes for your rights. So there's the payola, the granddaddy of all business scams, bribery, pay for play, things like that. They talk about the greedy A&R. A&Rs scout talent and oversee creative process on behalf of their employer. But they're talking about like sometimes events to make look like contests with the winners receiving seemingly valuable meetings or introduction, but it's the organizers that pocketing the entry fees and the ticket sales. So it's, you know, A&Rs, you know, are already being paid to listen to music. It's their job. So why should artists have to pay them again? Then there's like shoppers, which just as their A&Rs on the inside scamming artists with dreams. They talk about this. Not every, I don't want to make it sound like there are a million amazing A&Rs, but there's just people to watch out. The consultants that are like, you know, new to the industry, they're looking for people there. Scammer will insist on, you know, basically saying paying in advance to have someone shop your music for you. The production deal. So these involve industry players who sign an artist to a record deal, even though that player might not have a distribution deal or even own a label. These go real into details. The double dipper, managers to charge, managers charge 15 to 20% commission of gross earnings in exchange for their services, but they don't get to put their hands in the artist's pocket twice. If the manager also runs a label, the artist should be vigilant about how their advisor gets compensated. All right. The conflict of interest when one party has relationships that make it difficult to choose fairly. A typical example, when an attorney represents both sides in the negotiation. The VIG, some recording artists known to charge producers or songwriters for placements. They demand a piece of the music publishing in exchange for a promise to release music, even when they didn't write a note. The buy-on agreement and others pay for play, promoters who charge artists to perform, or headliners who charge smaller acts for opening slots. The ghosting consultant, heard lots of horror stories about consultants charge for their services up front and then disappear. And then there's the shady publicist. And I know Jamie probably has a lot to say on some shady publicists and can give us advice of what not to look for in some red flags. The publicists, say ability to generate press and help manage a publicity campaign. The value is their access to a list of blogs, writers, and other outlets, their ability to craft story that resonates, their willingness to pitch to contracts. No publicist can guarantee anything, so don't fool any of the claims they can do. And then there's the blogs that are taking money for running a story, the fakers, and so these are things that's again in the articles, and we want to make just kind of like a little bit of the PSA out there. It's just keep an eye out. If you hear some red flags, do research. Eli, any thoughts on this?
Man, so many. I'm sure that everybody in here has a story about one of those scams that you've just mentioned. I work in A&R, so I cringed when you were saying watch out for the A&R. Yeah, there are a lot of good folks in all of those arms of the industry, but I feel like it's easy to it's kind of easy as an artist to get caught up in the hype and the excitement of the possibility. And I would just say to any artist, whoever you're working with, if anything sounds too good to be true or doesn't smell right, it's worth investigating. Definitely vet the people that you're going to work with. Ask for some recommendations and do a little bit of research on who you're going to work with. And you're probably going to avoid a lot of these scams, but artists are so interested and eager to meet with industry execs and anybody who can connect with them that I think sometimes it's easy to get carried away as an artist and get too excited and jump the gun before you do your vetting and your research. But a little bit of vetting will go a long way.
Especially if you're going to spend money, and Peter, you're right. I do have a lot of opinions about this.
Go for it, Jamie.
All right. Well, for publicists specifically, not everybody is ready for publicity. So, somebody who doesn't ask you a lot of questions, but jumps at taking your money is definitely scamming you. It's very much a function of the fact that great music is not enough lately, unfortunately. So there's got to be much more to the story. So if they don't ask you too many questions, they're full of shit. Additionally, no one can promise you anything in publicity. And if they do, run the other direction. And thirdly, I think that it's very important to talk to people's other clients. Now, for me, my best reference is talk to the people I'm working with, because they will tell you about the job I do. If they give you one person, ask for another person too, because they could have one friend that would kind of fake it for them. But talk to a few of the clients, look up a few of their previous clients, Google them and find some of the press that's been done on them. Because when publicists are BSing, it's really easy to tell if you do the work.
Right on. Good. Great advice. Great advice. Anybody have has anybody had some issues with anybody or they've had an issue, or they thought they were they did their research and found out it was some kind of little scam or something? All right, guess not. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Oh, Jesse, go on.
Nobody's willing to talk.
I've had a couple things. I mean, I've made the mistake as an artist doing pay for play shows and stuff like that. I haven't had a ton of experience, but one of the main thing that I am so obsessed with Clubhouse about is the ability to learn and talk with other people and even just, be a fly on the wall in these conversations in these different rooms that normally, I wouldn't have access to. And two things that, if this is wrong, I'd love to be corrected on, but two kind of takeaways I've had recently is that, one, there's not, as an artist, from the artist perspective, there's not one person nowadays that's going to be able to make your career. And then the second one that I have gathered recently was that the music industry is a business, and whatever part you're playing in it, if you don't know the rules and you get screwed over because you didn't know the rules, you can't be mad. The same as if you sit down and play chess and you don't know what the hell you're talking about. So just, everyone's got to really understand everybody's part on some basic level. Otherwise, you're just kind of asking for it. So yeah, there's a lot to know.
Yeah, it's kind of like research the players and what their descriptions are. Like, what is a manager supposed to be doing? What is the difference between a manager and a business manager? Who's really controlling the finances? And difference between an A&R and an A&R scout, things like that. Eli, I mean, we had a lot to cover. Oh, there was one other article. I just want to wrap up this because this, and I just go, this was on Billboard, and Kodak Black and Entourage was ambushed and security guards shot after Florida concert. And this is on Billboard. They were on Monday morning in Tallahassee, Florida, that had left the security guard injured after the Florida-based rapper headlined a hometown music festival on Easter Sunday billed as Culture Fest featuring Kodak Black and friends. The Tallahassee Democrat reports that Black and his entourage were ambushed at a McDonald's near the Tally Strip at 3 a.m. on Monday. A shooter reportedly opened fire from a car that had been following them. Black had just left Baja's Beach Club, which hosted the Culture Fest after party. They were followed to the fast food joint by multiple vehicles attempting to cut them off. The rapper security guard was shot in the leg while inside the car in the McDonald's parking lot. According to the paper, he was rushed to a nearby hospital with serious injuries, according to the police, but is now in stable condition. So, I mean, that was I just wanted to get that last piece of that article in. It's, never good to hear that. So we talked about the AI software recreating, Nirvana creating a Nirvana song, the lawsuit filed against Space Nectar for alleged sexual abuse of minors and human trafficking. Michael Rapino and other Live Nation execs partially forfeit their bonuses, and Kodak Black just now, and Clubhouse payments, and Grammy-winning artist litigates against YouTube to disclose information about repeat copyright infringers. And the scams to watch out for. So as we wrap up for the final 10 minutes, I'd like to open this up. Anybody in the audience, feel free to raise your hand. Eli, let's throw it over to you. Any thoughts on any of the articles?
I'm interested. I just love that we're discussing scams, but I feel like it's apropos because we're also discussing Clubhouse in the news. And I know that a lot of people caution against scams on Clubhouse. So I love that we're sharing that and opening that for discussion. Let's nobody get scammed here.
What's what's in everybody's bio? Don't pay people to listen on Clubhouse or something like that.
That's what it says in my bio. It also says don't play music on Clubhouse that isn't copyrighted, because it feels like Clubhouse is a private space filled with friends. But let's face it, sometimes we don't know who's listening down in the audience. Even when we scroll down, we haven't met that person. And so my bio says don't pay people to play your music on Clubhouse, and don't play uncopyrighted music on the Clubhouse app.
I have a quick question on that. I don't, a lot of these songwriting rooms and stuff where they give critiques, it's, to me, it's always a little silly playing a song that, you just released or you released a year ago. And I love playing unfinished songs, but some of them don't exist anywhere, but the majority of them do exist on YouTube as a performance, or I do have records upon records of the demos that I've made at home. Is that okay? Or would you really say absolutely not?
Well, that's a long conversation. To a certain extent, once you've fixed something in a fixed medium, once you've made something in a fixed medium, you do have a certain extent of a copyright on it, but that's a really long conversation.
And even to take that further is, is the poor man's copyright, which I believe last year or the year before or something. And please look this up, Google it, because I can't remember exactly what it is. But it's saying that, the old poor man's copyright was like email your, send, not email, but mail yourself a sealed package of the CD and all, any liner, all that stuff, and mail it to yourself and do not open it. And that was the poor man's copyright. And they're saying that the law states that you're not necessarily 100% covered by that, because you needed to file a complaint. You do have to have it legally copyrighted. So the poor man's copyright in that states, if you wanted to file a lawsuit, it has to be properly copyrighted.
Yeah, and the short answer is that once you've created it, you have a limited copyright on it. But if you want to fight it in court, having the paperwork is going to be on your side.
Okay, thank you.
But now with the, tie this into the Clubhouse accepting payments. Don't pay people on Clubhouse to listen to your music or something like that. And it's like here, and they would have their Cash App or Venmo. Now it potentially can be easier to say, hey, and I've seen this on streaming services. This is nothing new. This goes back to Periscope, which finally just shut down April 1st. It goes back to Meerkat. It goes back years and years where people say, hey, I will play your song during our show. Here, Cash App, or back then it was PayPal, and just PayPal me $2 and I will play your song. And it was, people were making a killing because people just wanted to get their song shouted out and played on, I remember there was two girls that just did it, and they were just college students. They did it from their dorm room, and they were making hundreds of dollars per, a couple hours of streaming, just saying, yeah, we'll play your music and during our show, because they had a fan base. And it was like, all right, $5, we'll play your song. We'll play 90 seconds of your song. For $2, we'll play 60 seconds of your song.
So what's wrong with that if somebody wants the exposure? As long as they're not turning around and stealing the song and doing something else with it.
That's the question. It's a great question. That's what it's opened up for. Is this going to be something, it's like, well, if they're a radio station DJ, you can't accept money to play the song. But if you're a live streamer and you don't have any kind of, you're not technically a DJ, you can go ahead and play the music and get paid for it. So payola is only bad for DJs and not for live streamers that might actually have a decent audience. Real deep. We're kind of getting deep into the conversation.
That's a lot of unpacking.
Yeah. Why would it be? Why people pay for exposure all the time, and it's not illegal. The record industry and the
it's illegal to pay a DJ to play their song on the radio.
That's because the radio is controlled by the FCC. But again, what's wrong with it?
Well, I guess just know what you're going to get from it.
Part of it is transparency and truthfulness. The radio thing is, I thought this guy was curating music that he liked and is sharing it with people, and I didn't know he was getting paid for it. On YouTube, if I did that, I would have to put up the little notice that says this video contains a paid promotion. So really the FCC rule has to do with truth in advertising. As long as you're admitting to people that I just didn't spontaneously, curate this because I love this band, they're paying me. So
absolutely.
That's the FCC rule within YouTube.
I think Greg's right on that regarding the transparency, right? I mean, if I knew that I was coming into a show to listen to music because I thought that this is what the the creator or whoever's holding the room is they believed in that music, it's very different if they were being paid to play that music, right? Like I would have a whole different mindset as of how I listen to that music and how I process it if I knew that they were paid.
And that's why all infomercials have to say, this is a paid promotion. And same thing in print advertising. You can't write an article that says my product is great and make it look like an editorial. it has to say paid advertisement on top. So,
maybe that's just a rule that, within Clubhouse that they'll end up in inputting, just because I could see, some exposure to that. Maybe not now legally, but down the road, there's going to be some new laws that are going to be popping up over this live streaming.
Yeah. I mean, could I give somebody on the stage $2 to say how great my YouTube channel is? I mean,
I've actually seen your videos, so it's exciting.
They're not
to
that
meet
good.
I've seen them.
Thank you. I hope they get better. I appreciate that.
All right. So as we finish up, Greg, then we're going to start wrapping up.
I got to go do a meeting for my real 9 to 5. So thank you guys.
Well, thank you,
Great
Greg.
to see you, Greg.
All right, Eli, how about we start closing up shop here for today and get some final thoughts from anybody else?
Yeah, we're wrapping up the day today. We've had a lot of different conversations on the stage. I want to say thank you to everybody who's been part of the conversation, everybody who's tuning in, and everybody who's listening in on Clubhouse iOS. And as we wrap today's Music News Power Hour, I want to get some final thoughts from our speakers on the stage. Jamie, any final
I know
thoughts?
I didn't
Oh, sorry,
speak
Melody.
much, but
Melody.
Hi. I just want to say this was an awesome room, and I learned a lot from these headlines. So I really love this. This was my first time here, so I'll definitely be back. Thanks for having this room.
First time here gets the big clap. Yeah. And thank you for everybody who comes back. Every day we do this every day from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. It's the power hour, so we like to wrap it up right at the hour. Sometimes we go into a little overtime, maybe a few minutes. We also do, so if you like what you're hearing, you want to check out other programming, we do the Good Day Music World at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. That leads right into this. Music Industry City, hit the green little Monopoly house up there, or send me $10 via Venmo. And just kidding, but you can also go to musicindustrycity.com, and if you click that little there's a graphic there that says Clubhouse Information Center. That'll take you to the page that you can submit a question during. If you're in one of our other rooms, you can submit a question. If you want to submit an article for consideration, for instance, Jamie submitted an article yesterday. We brought that up to the table today. So again, it's all about all participation here. We really appreciate everybody coming in and joining us, and hearing your thoughts.
Thank you.
You can PTR and hear Bass Nectar's response. That was just published.
Ooh, we'll have to go and it's going to be tough to read that in the little profile picture. My glasses are not that good, but it's on NME, so.
You can Google and it's published on 2 sites.
Right on. All right, thank you for that. So, all right,
Thanks,
thank you.
Benjamin.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Eli, want to shut it down?
All right, this has been the Music News Power Hour. We are here from 12 to 1 Eastern, Monday through Friday, so make sure you come back. We cover some music news headlines that we find valuable, and we hope you do too. We like to say this is all the news that we feel like hearing and discussing. So come back every weekday, Monday through Friday, 12 to 1 Eastern. We'll be covering music news headlines right here in the Music News Power Hour, and we will see you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.
All right, we got some music to take it out.